Hello and welcome back to Dev Game Club, a weekly podcast in which two veteran game developers look at games from the past to discuss their relevance and impact today. I'm Brett Duval and I'm joined as always by my co-host, a man who has come to town to solve the murder of this young, beautiful girl and to bring the murderer to justice.
Tim Longo. I definitely wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah, well, I was also, that's a direct quote. I had some other things I was workshopping. A man staying away from any dark, dangerous, isolated places. That was from the scene where he's talking to the town in the auditorium.
Yeah.
A man auditioning for Little Grave on the Prairie. And then finally, a man the boys like to call Crybaby Timothy. That was maybe my favorite. I think you got that one.
I remember that. Yep. Yeah. I think I maybe even made a note of it.
I'm sure you were like, is that going to come back to bite me on the podcast? We are talking Deadly Premonition. We'll get to that in a moment. Want to review the upcoming November 15th date, which is, last week we did a live stream about Portal 2. The live stream got some things that the podcast didn't, and that is actually on our YouTube channel, so I guess anybody could still go see it if they want. I'm not going to discuss what that might have been, but there was something different. And
now they're definitely going to go listen.
And yeah, I'm amping up our YouTube numbers, Tim. It was a stretch goal for the Defeating Games for Charity from 2025, which is the Discord run charity event benefiting the Video Game History Foundation that our Discord community runs. And I mentioned November 15th because applications to take part in the January 24th and 25th of 2026 defeating games for charity. Imagine if it was defeating James for charity. Wow, that would be a whole different thing. Can be submitted via defeatinggames.com/apply. There was a link to that in the show notes. And we can talk a little bit about the live stream in a minute if you want. And then the other note about November 15th is that one of the Discord community members, Noises, is part of a 12-hour Rocksmith Raid Train charity event with proceeds to benefit the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. I mentioned this because next week Tim is out, and so an interview will run with Noises from the Discord Game Club while Tim is away. So that will be kind of a nice, few days before the event, an opportunity to get to know Noises a little. Yeah, and Noises, as you mentioned in the stream last week, was one of the streamers in 2025's Defeating Games for Charity, where I think he also played Rocksmith, is my recollection. So Rocksmith is the play a real guitar into your mic game, or I guess into an adapter probably, so they can actually fully pick it up, and to actually learn guitar by playing it with in a rock band kind of style, rock band or Guitar Hero sort of style game, but with an actual guitar and not sort of a plastic 5-button instrument. So kind of a different thing there. So
yeah, he was taking, I'm sure this is one of his hooks, but he takes requests from the audience. So
wow. And I imagine Rocksmith has everything.
Whatever. Yeah. Obviously a lot of video game soundtracks and things, right? So
right, of course. Yeah.
I think I asked for Metal Gear.
Nice, of course you did. So you got dun 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 dun.
I think it maybe was the song from 3 that was the James Bond kind of.
That was Snake Eater has a really good
Snake Eater. Yeah, it was
called Snake Eater.
They got a real singer for it too, a real performer. I forget her name, but yeah, it was just like they do for James Bond.
Yeah, that was actually excellent. That was quite good. I remember when I played that. It was fun to record a live stream version of the episode. Less fun to edit, but yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah, so. we didn't set great ground rules for me before we started. We had a couple.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so there's certain things I probably wouldn't have said if I had known you were going to edit them out. So I apologize, but yeah, it was super fun. I see why people do it. I mean, to be honest, like Whether we do that exact thing or not again, I just it made me think. I don't know what the format is exactly. So it's not like this episode we're recording now, doing a traditional episode like we usually do. But I feel like doing something live that is much more interactive with the viewers as part of our podcast. I don't just mean streaming like we do normally, but like a conversation or more like that format. I don't know what I mean exactly, but it felt like it would be fun to do where there is more of like a back and forth.
Hmm.
So I don't know. That was one of my takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch some folks who would stream development, and that can be really interesting to watch, but it's very, very specific to the streamer and what they're doing, and it takes a lot of preparation. So I kind of I worry about that sort of thing. I did a little bit of that years ago out of curiosity, like, okay, what's this like? I was like, oh, I don't like this. I'm not gonna do this anymore. But it was certainly interesting to look at. And then I came back and did some, just playing on stream, and yeah, it's fun too. Although depending on the game, you might be really focused on the game. I can
Mm-hmm.
talk like this to you whether we're on camera or not, and yeah, finding a way to make that interactive would be fun.
Yeah, and I
We'll
don't mean
have to think
streaming
about
a
it.
game. I mean doing
Yeah,
what we
no,
did, but
I know what you mean. Yeah,
sort of like more of like a panel or something. I don't know.
yeah. Well,
Just made me think.
we will consider it. We will consider that further. Um, in the meantime, let's return to Deadly Premonition, which is now we're on our fourth episode. Neither of us have, in my case, I would be finishing it for the second time, and I've been relying more on my memory for this week's episode. Um, and Tim hasn't quite gotten there either. So there are some topics about the very end of the game that we're just not going to get to. Though, so there is some stuff we might that's towards the end. So, be warned as far as spoilers if that's a thing that you care about. You are,
Yeah,
I
we're
think you
definitely
said
going to be
you're in,
spoiling some
yeah,
things.
you're in chapter 21, I believe you said. So, and there's
Yeah.
26. So you're basically, there's a lot of revelations that are still to come for Tim, and I'm not going to spoil those. But anything up to that is fair game and stuff that we want to talk a little bit about. So let
Yeah,
us.
based on the structure that I looked up, I just looked up the chapter episode count, not what's in it. And yeah, it looks like I feel like I'm in the home stretch,
Yeah, yeah.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are. And I feel like it moves pretty quickly right about where you are. Is
That's what
my
it looks like.
recollection. Yeah, it really felt
Yeah.
like, everything's kind of coming very quickly now. And, this sort of off kilter aspect of the game where you're kind of, you have that uncertainty about what's going on all the time, like it's source material and, like the things that inspires it. Um, you want to be, once you're kind of like swaying back and forth, now it's like really easy to knock you over multiple times, so they can just hit you with new revelation upon new revelation. So
That's a good analogy.
yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, you're definitely swaying, like a tree, Tim, and now they're going to take the next to you. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then I'll bring it up. I'll try to thread it in as we talk, but we are watching the second season of Twin Peaks now, and uh, to your point there, which I'm sure, as we've talked about, it'll be in my takeaways, but it's a big influence on this game, like critical influence. I had forgotten, to your point on the swaying and revelation after revelation, I had forgotten because season one for Twin Peaks, and this isn't a big digression, so give me a second, was 8 episodes, very short for the time. I'm sure
it
because
was
they
a
did.
it was a mid-season replacement. Actually, that's why.
Yeah, and it's like, and that happened from time to time, but I'm sure people were cautious, right? As
Yeah,
well. It's like
yeah.
this, they're not going to get their own full season until they prove themselves. But then the second season was more of a full season. I don't think it was like 20 plus episodes, but it was long. And coming back, I think it was like May to September or September to May or something. There was a gap there for season until season 2. You could tell that the success had hit them enough to where the gloves were off, because the season opener for season 2 is so much more extreme in a Lynchian way, but also just in a shock way. Like they wanted to shock people much more than season 1 did, even though at the time season 1 was unbelievable that it was on the air.
Yeah.
Watching the season opener for season 2 is even more unbelievable that was on essentially primetime TV a little bit later, but I think it would be considered primetime. But
yeah, it was still prime. It was primetime. Later in season 2, they started trying to figure out a different place to put it, and it's actually one of the things that put the nail in the coffin of that show was like you never knew when it was going to be on, because one week it would be on, whatever, Thursday night, and then the next week it would be on Saturday night, and then they tried on Friday night, and and
so
being
weird.
in the target age group, like a college student at the time, it was very difficult for me. There was no internet. It's not, so keeping track of that it was very difficult to know when it was going to be on. And it was just a mess. And I should note that the original storyline, which ends, I think it is a more than 20 episode second season. And Lynch and Frost, subsequently said like that was the pace of writing was too much to do the type of show they were doing, to do it on that at that kind of scope. It would be much better as a sort of limited series that comes back when it's ready. Type thing that today that's kind of more the model for something that complex. They don't like just come out 6 months later. It's however long it takes to come out, get the story right. But anyway, what I was going to say is originally they actually had they had one season of arc, and that's up to the revelation of Laura's killer, and I think the episode after that. Like that was the original story that they knew they had. And then everything after that was them like and you can feel this so much watching the second half of the second season. It was like they are throwing, and it's not even Frost and Lynch at that point writing most of the time. They're throwing so much stuff at the wall, just to see what will work. And it's kind of all over the place, and the storylines don't really work. They're just not as thought through, in terms of their themes and all of that. So but yeah, we should dive more into the story here. I've basically gotten to, I think, where you were last time we played, but I've been doing so much side stuff, or trying to do so much side stuff. I've been covering the world again and again and again, going back to places. I did the whole thing with the bones, which I don't think I had done before, which I don't know if you've done.
No, I found one of them, but and I see them on the map, but I haven't made a concerted effort to see what that is.
Yeah. There's I
know they're human
for that. Yep, they are. They sure are. I should tell somebody about this. It's always very
says
funny.
The FBI agent.
Yeah, right. I should definitely tell somebody about this. That story it's fine. It's like a lot of the stuff in the game where it's like, oh, okay, there's an interesting mystery here, and then how it actually is. It resolves. There was something I started noticing about that storyline that was then confirmed at the end. So it was another one of those like, oh, I figured out what was going on here in some way, right? Or at least I noticed something about the environment. I don't want to say more than that.
Interesting.
Where those bones are found. But I basically just gotten to the point where I'm about to go to. I just left the art gallery, and we should maybe talk a little bit about that, because I actually like that puzzle a lot. That was one that felt like an actual puzzle. Finding the code to get into Diane's office.
Right.
Which, do you want to set that up a little bit? Describe
what that is?
Can you remember?
Because there's another one that's similar to that, because that was a few weeks ago for me. What was
you when you are in there, you go and approach a painting on the first floor, basically in the entryway of the gallery, which was also really striking because there's this huge like statue that's like they say 5 meters tall, so whatever that is, nearly 20 feet tall, and it's like looming over the whole. It goes from first to second floor. There's 2 staircases in this. It's a really cool image. And then you walk in, and depending on the order in which you do things, eventually you get to move over to where there's like some of those red, particle effects on the ground, and out of a door comes Olivia, who is the wife of the and co-owner or co whatever of the A&G diner, which is like the double R. And she comes out. She's a little upset. She's looking at this painting on the wall, and when she leaves, she drops a memo on the ground, and she says something sort of cryptic. And you're like, huh? And then you go and look, and you get this memo, and there's a key as well. And the memo has like 3 things on it, and they're basically names of paintings.
Mm.
And you then go through the gallery, and the paintings aren't necessarily, well, I guess they have sort of that same activation particle effect in front of them. So you do kind of know them when you see them. But there is stuff where you have to make assumptions. There's one you have to find that's hidden away in a room in the basement. There's one that you actually never see the painting with the same title, but you see a painting on a similar theme. And the number of trees in these paintings is the numbers that go into the key pattern.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty good. As far as that kind of weird Resident Evil-y, kind of not that deep, but still felt deeper than most things and more well motivated than most things in other games that have a sort of survival horror puzzle aspect to them. So
yeah, there's one later when you're trying to get into Harry Stewart. Basically, is set up some puzzles for you to do before you can get to him.
Yeah. What am I, Professor Layton? Come on.
Yeah, because he's eccentric or whatever. And yeah, there's one that deals with music scores, and another kind of number one. And there's a one with like these kind of like a statues on a chessboard sort of thing. But yeah, that also is number related. So yeah, they're definitely, I definitely applaud them for, rather than Resident Evil basically doing a lot of lock and key stuff with just different shapes and different things. It's like, yeah, it's always, or puzzle, like literal puzzle pieces. They definitely are mixing it up some more in this one.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that as well. I'd kind of forgotten that was the case. I mean, there are some that are not super deep, but anyway, that one was one that was in the main story, and there's also, the weird chess puzzle with Usha in the hospital, which was not great. I think partly a translation.
That one was a stretch. Yeah,
that was I think partly a localization problem, because I think the prepositions they used made it sound like the solution was something different than it was, which was not great. And then yeah, because the way it was worded, it definitely was like, oh, it's this order of these puzzles, and that was not the answer. And I don't remember how many times I put it in where I was like, come on, that's exactly what it's saying. It felt like a bad localization problem.
I can see that. Yeah.
And then I don't know that there have been any real other ones for me thus far. So there'll be maybe more coming.
I have a vague memory of another set that is around, that's related to another murder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I haven't gotten to that yet. So
that'll be coming up. Yeah.
So yeah, you're referencing stuff that's in my near future as far as gameplay goes, but having played it before, I'm not worried. I wouldn't be worried anyway about spoilers. But you want to go into the story a little bit more, and we can maybe talk about some of the stuff that's a little grating, to say the least. If you want to, we don't have to go into terrible depth, but we should probably at least warn people. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of where the plot goes.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. So after, yeah. So where you are, trying to think,
You go to the diner next, and you meet
names like Diane is the
is the art gallery owner. Yeah, and
art
Becky is her
gallery
bot.
owner. Becky is the sister to Anna,
No,
I
they're
think.
friends. They're friends.
They're
They
friends.
were like
Okay.
best friends. Yeah, they're sort of like who was it in Fire Walk with Me? There was a character who was with Laura Palmer. So it's sort of akin to her.
Not Ronette.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I forget Becky. I definitely get characters mixed up, for sure.
Yeah, Diane and Becky live together in the big house by the water, and then Sally is
Oh, that's
Anna's
right.
is
Becky is
Anna's
Diane's sister.
no,
Becky is
Becky's
somebody's
Diane's
sister.
not her daughter?
Mm, no, I think she's a sister. Anyway,
All
it
right, yeah,
doesn't.
maybe they might be sisters. That could be. Yeah.
Not as relevant. The one thing I'll say about that though that I think they do nail, because we can't not talk about Twin Peaks
Yeah.
when you talk about this game, is that they understood one of the critical aspects of Twin Peaks when it comes to a small community where everybody is connected in some
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
both very a way that is very forward facing, and then there's also usually a hidden way, right?
Right.
And that's one thing that Twin Peaks did well, of just kind of like a web, right, basically of
Right.
these connections.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of rich, fertile ground for, like you said earlier, revelations of like, oh wait, what? Those two are together? Oh, this person backstabbed that person? Oh,
Yeah.
these two have a history. I didn't even know they knew each other. All this kind of stuff. Um,
I like the way you
uh,
put it too about like it's there's the forward facing stuff and then there's the the stuff that is kind of buried. Um, that's not that people know but is not known to strangers. Let's put it, I guess would be the way I would put it. And
mhm.
one of the things I like about those kinds of these kinds of stories is that though part of the mystery is uncovering that stuff and figuring out how it fits in. I think a lot of the side stories, the sort of open world missions or whatever they're called, are really reinforce that and those connections.
Yeah,
And I think if you're paying attention even to the map and where people are and are going at different times, um, sometimes also reinforces that. Not as well as I'd like, which we can get to when we get to the open world inside story kind of discussion. But because sometimes it's just, there's really nothing there. It's just a person standing in a different location. It's very weird. But sometimes it's like, oh, this person is going where? Why are they going over here? Like it gives me a lot of those old text adventure vibes, like I've mentioned, of just like, huh, there's a
yeah,
story here. Can I find it? Can I find what that story is?
yeah, yeah.
So
Like when Kaysen is
mm,
off with the boys
yes,
in his truck going
yeah,
off to the park,
yep,
or the forest, I guess I'd say. And
yeah,
I'm like, and I was leaving. I was there. I think that was right after I went fishing for the documents, which we should talk about later.
okay, yeah,
My first fishing experience was for
yeah,
documents.
yeah,
And then I leave. I'm
like you
driving
do, yeah.
like you do. Well, to be honest, York says something like that, I think. It's like, well, and it's some tongue in cheek thing like that. Like, well, I guess this is what you do when you're fishing for as a
Yeah.
FBI
Oh,
FBI agent.
by the way, did you notice on the map what the name of the lake is?
No, I didn't.
It is Lake Knowledge.
Oh my gosh! Oh my
Uh,
gosh! Yeah. No, the names are great. Like one of the main thoroughfares is Vale Avenue or something.
yeah, yeah, that's so good.
Um, uh, yeah. So there's a lot of good, yeah, a lot of good stuff. But the anecdote was just I was leaving there because I was just finishing that mission up, and to your point on like the living world side of it, Kaysen's driving up there as I'm leaving because it's
Yeah,
just part of the sim, and the twins are with him, and I'm like, what's
What is?
going on here?
Yeah,
And of course,
that's gonna come back.
yeah, well, okay.
No,
I'm not sure.
it's gonna come back. Not with those twins. I'll just say.
I don't even know how to parse what you're
Yeah,
saying,
I
but
know.
yeah. So I mean, the twins.
See,
I know
I
that.
kind of want you to stream this because I want to
Yeah.
see your reaction to
Yeah,
some of the stuff that
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Anyway,
We were talking in pre-show when what Brett was just referencing. We're talking in pre-show about streaming because I am going to start. In fact, tonight after this recording, I'm going to start trying to play as many of the unbeaten games that I have from the podcast on stream and just test that out and see how it goes. This would, of course, be one of them, and I don't think that much longer to go, so it wouldn't probably take me too long to finish it. But it's a tricky enough game
yeah.
to play for me, at least, that streaming it, I have to think about or figure out how to talk about it. So, when it comes to like true crime kind of related topics and the darkness of humanity, you know what I mean. As far as Kaysen shows up with the twins, I'm like, Child Abuse actually.
You can actually talk to Jim, who's the grandfather.
Yeah, I see him on the map. I just haven't gone over there
Yeah,
yet.
I went and talked to him because I was finding the bones, and I was actually like looking at the map. I was like, I'm actually pretty close to the forester's cabin that Jim spends his
Oh, I
days
did
at.
go in there at one point, but he
Yeah,
didn't have anything for me at the time.
yeah. No, this probably would have happened later, I guess. Right when once Kaysen comes to town. So if you went early, he wouldn't have had anything. But once Kaysen comes to town, so I was looking, and I was like, oh, the Ingram twins. I know I have to talk to them for a side story or an open world mission. I keep saying side stories because that's what they're called in Yakuza. I
They
know I
are
have to.
called side missions, I think.
Yeah, they're called missions, but not stories. So I'm like, oh, I'll just go over there, and there'll probably be a car. I won't have to hoof it all the way back to where I parked my car because there's a couple of bones that are like a long trek into the woods. And I was just like trying to find all the things I could do, between where I knew chapter breaks would
Yeah.
be. Like, can I find every character who has, a little notepad next to their name on the map, and go do those and find out what they are and try to figure them out. Some of them feel like they have like requirements, like you have to figure out, like Gina, whose sponge you found a week or two ago at the gas station. Like, clearly she has one, it's in the map and it's like on the list of missions, but like there's a precondition for her talking to me and I don't know what it is, and the game
Right,
doesn't tell you. So it's like,
right.
and she sort of is like, is that all you have for me or something like that? So I'm like, is this an outfit thing? Because I think you can find more outfits. Or is it like,
Oh, I have a lot of outfits.
oh, is it a car thing? Like what is this thing? Right. So
It's her
um
sponge.
yeah, if I
You
give her
gotta
sponge
find the
back,
sponge.
give her her sponge. Yeah, so I
Uh,
don't, I haven't figured that out. Anyway, if Kaysen is, because so Kaysen was basically there to pick up the boys from that house. The house was locked, so I couldn't actually talk to the kids. So I was super annoyed. I was like, well, who else is here? And I went and talked to the grandfather, and he's sketchy about Kaysen.
oh,
And
interesting.
he's like, well, Keith and Lily like him, and so
Oh,
they
he said that to me someplace too, but it wasn't
okay.
there.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it's
well, I think the things that they'll say are just they'll say it
yeah,
wherever
right,
you
yeah,
interview.
which
Yeah,
is good.
yeah.
You means you'll get them regardless of where.
Well, as long as you interact with the characters, so which is again talking to the sort of interconnectedness of all the story is like, you can go and talk to any character who has any named character, and they will. I mean, they may repeat the same thing over and over again, but they will have something that bears. They will tend to have something that bears on the story overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what Jim has to say is like, I don't trust that guy. And sometimes you should listen to us old people. But the boys, the twins' parents like, Kaysen. So I guess I guess it doesn't matter what I have to say about it or something like that. It's a very like, you should listen to your elders sometimes, kids, kind of moment. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing that with this fidelity and this medium at this time in game development, if there's one thing that's hard to do, is to make interesting characters that I don't know, give you things to think about, whether they're good or bad, I guess, good things or bad things to think about. But just because of our medium, there's often action and the stereotypes are really heavily 1 to 2 dimensional,
right?
And I do, and that is the case in this game too. Like, they're definitely tropes, right, and stereotypes, but they have so many characters that I do think it has allowed them to have a little bit more. I mean, nuance is too generous, but a little bit more unexpectedness with some of the characters, because they do have really kind of a full town.
Yeah.
And Kaysen is one of those ones. You go back to the art gallery later, which you may remember, which is, spoiler, when you find Diane's body.
Yeah.
Or she's actually not dead yet when you find her, but it does reveal some of Kaysen's stuff going on there too.
Yeah.
And he's wrapped up in all sorts of stuff. I even talked to him at one point in the hotel that you stay in. He was there for some reason. I don't even remember why he said he was there.
He just stays there when he comes.
Okay, that's yeah. So he was there, but he was like out in the lobby, just sitting on the couch. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Oh.
And then the funny thing about
him at the end of the day, like when I left.
Oh, this was in the morning. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I ran into him because after we had dinner on the first day at the A&G, I went to the Galaxy of Terror, I think is what it's called, right? The
biker bar.
I think that's.
No, that's
Thomas.
That's Carol's place.
Thomas and Carol own and work at, right? I guess Carol owns it, and she sings and.
Yeah. That's like the main.
Yeah,
that's like the Roadhouse.
I went and hung out there for a while. There was a story, a side mission that I was trying to figure out if it would trigger, and it seemed like not. So I eventually went back to the hotel, and when I got there, he had just checked in when I was coming down the hallway to his room. So I ran into him going to my room. So it was wild with his.
The simple fact that you can actually what you just said occurs is just wild. That just through timing, you ran into him as he was going there. So
and you ran into him while he was having his morning coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, and you might not run into him at all. Although, eventually you'll definitely run into him. I mean, he is.
Yeah, he's part of the key story later. But and then the big section I just finished was back at the Galaxy of Terror, or whatever that thing's called. Right?
Yeah,
because there's more to that building than you see. So the one, like, as a macro topic, the one thing I'll say about the simulation open world stuff, I want to give a couple examples of ones that I did too. I don't think I haven't done as many as you for sure, but I did do more than I thought I was going to do. Is that it is a. I was telling Brett in pre-show, I go back and forth on, is this a good homage or is it a ripoff, and just kind of like too close to home. And there definitely are still, as we're watching the show, some very direct examples of them ripping off a concept that is literally uttered, almost line for line from the show. So but they always find a way to twist it a little bit to surprise me. And it's definitely weird that I'm watching the show and playing the game, because almost nobody would be doing that, right? So that's just like like the universe happenstance. So that's definitely an added element that I wouldn't notice this stuff normally, of course, because I wouldn't remember the show. But
which is a nice thing about being you, by the way. You can watch Twin Peaks every few months, and it's like new.
Oh yeah, totally. It totally is true. It's totally true. Jen, there we were watching, and like something will happen, and I'll look over her at her with wide eyed, and she's like, "What? You didn't remember that?" I'm like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" She's like, "You idiot." Um, and so yeah, but the one thing I will say that the game has over Twin Peaks that I always, um, there was sort of a feeling when you watch the show, because that show, similar to this game, there's a lot of characters. It's fairly complex. Most of the time, you're kind of scratching your head on like, what does this mean? What is actually happening? Let's not even talk about season 3. And so there's a lot of filling in the blanks in your mind and kind of trying to figure out what the heck they're even talking about and what the relationships are. And there's always this, like, I'm a very visual learner, and so seeing the town, seeing the people, like all the relationships, all the places, I think that's one of the reasons why I loved being up here, living up here, and being able to go to the towns they filmed it in, even though they're not the real towns, of course, from the show. Is that I wanted a spatial awareness about where everything is, even though in the show it's not. They don't have that. There is no real map. But in the game, there is a map, and there is spatial awareness, and there is this sense of place, and there is this simulation of people doing their things. Like, I would love to see a day in the life of a XYZ person in the show, but you just never get that because that's not what the point is. That's not the medium.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a leg up, I guess, is my point, that the game has that you miss from the show, because you never really, probably by design, you never really get the full picture of the town in the show.
Right.
It's just a bunch of places. It's a bunch of locations.
Yeah, and I think
in kind of an ether.
Yeah, that later shows that, I mean, all the kind of serialized television owes a debt to Twin Peaks, right? And certain things have made it easier for that stuff to fly. One thing is that, of course, back in the day when Twin Peaks was originally on, we were all just having these conversations, and it was in the magazines, like, I don't know, Entertainment Weekly or whatever, every week, to like, what is going on with the show and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, because there was no internet, it was very much or only the very beginnings of the internet, I guess. There wasn't really the World Wide Web. So you have this like, conversations just amongst the people that you're around, right? And in my case, like I said, I was in college, so it was like I'm around a lot of people who are watching this, and so it was like you could have these conversations, but and you could have those moments where you look over at somebody, you're like, no way, in a way. But later shows, I'm thinking of like Breaking Bad would do things like that, where you follow a character, or even we were talking about The Last of Us, because it's another adaptation. Having that great episode in the first season with what's his name from Parks and Rec,
Offerman.
Nick Offerman, and his partner, and how they met. And it's like a whole episode telling the whole story of their post-apocalyptic love story, and how it came to an end, right? And you can do that when you have that kind of space, right? And when you have time between seasons to figure out what you're going to do with stories and things like that. But back in that time, and when you're only going to do 8 to 10 episodes as well, right? You're gonna be really focused and think about what goes into a smaller amount of stuff, instead of doing what they had to do under the constraints of network television of the day. Anyway, but my point being basically, like, this actually, I mean, you sort of can do what you want to do in this, as far as that goes with this game. It's not always rewarding. I sort of mentioned earlier that at one point I was like, oh, I wonder what Emily is doing at these apartment buildings. I can see her there on the map. She's not moving. I'm going to go over there. And I go over there, and I think we had just all had lunch at the sheriff's department, which ties to another topic I wanted to hit. And she's just standing there, in his sort of like under the eaves of the building, just standing, doing nothing for a while. Like, she's just standing there. And you go talk to her, and she she gives you just the one line, I don't have anything interesting to say kind of thing, which is something like, do I have something on my face? Or she just says something like that. And it's like, it was a real letdown that it wasn't there. Like, I would have rather her not be there and visible so that I would come up with my own story of why she's there. Like, and maybe later, like if she went into a room and came out, is she having an affair with somebody? Is she meeting with an informant? Is she like, what is going on in that moment? Which I guess I could have done if I didn't follow her, but because I could follow her, it kind of ruined the illusion for me a little bit.
Was she on the second floor?
She was on the ground floor. So she was just hanging out. She was just standing there in her idle pose, hand on her hip. It's just like,
missed opportunity.
Put her in a room I can't get in, and and maybe that was originally the intention. Like, you never know. You have to go with what's there, right? And we can only work with what's there. So
but I mean, it's the fact that it is a living, that I guess my previous little monologue that was overstating things, I think I can boil it down. The feeling I'm talking about is that you get to live in the town, and you don't get to live in Twin Peaks,
right?
Even though I was a member of the fan club, wanted to live in, I have an address in Twin Peaks because of it, I had that as a fan back then, had the urge to know more, right? And can you imagine a Twin Peaks game, which is of course what Swery's trying to do with this game, to make his own, but can you imagine like a simulated Twin Peaks video game where they do have the town all relative, relative.
I would go a different direction, Tim. I'm thinking Gilmore Girls license.
Oh my, that would be a successful, if it's done well.
Billion dollar game.
Oh my god! Right, oh my gosh! Yeah, take it from me.
I'm gonna edit that out. I don't want people knowing.
Take it from me. They're on their 8th rewatch.
Oh my god! If we could just get it, get selling
but
a copy for every time they watch it.
Gilmore Girls is still having they're still having a moment, right? There's new merchandise, like there's new things happening. There's rumors of more stuff. So but I think but Gilmore Girls is like Twin Peaks in that it is about a town of people.
Yeah.
And
no, that's my point. Is like, it's another place where you can even better imagine living there, because you really do have a sense of where everything is. In
Girls, so, the Warner Brothers.
It's a real but it's also inspired by that town that you went to with in Connecticut. I forget
something station. I forget the name of it. But
Chainsaw Station. It's a very different sort of town.
Nice.
All right, I want to hit quickly just a couple topics, and then we can go to takeaways. The first one is, okay, so you've got that big open world. What are you going to do in it? You're going to drive everywhere, Tim. How do you like that?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, we talked about, I think in the first couple episodes, I think we were a little bit more generous on, it's not perfect, or at least I was. It's not perfect, and I'd rather have an open world than not, and have the ability to drive wherever. They made some weird choices as far as like spacing things out.
Yeah.
As far as world and level design.
It only has one gas station. This huge place that takes me forever to drive across.
Yeah, exactly. There's that, but also just like, the map designer was not talking to the rest of the team or something. Yeah. They're just not. Yeah. So, I guess just stuff that is easily fixed and easily noticed. But man, does it hold the game back. The driving is so bad. The driving models are bad. I've upgraded the car. I've purchased new cars. I've tried different things. And some of it, as people know, I've railed about on the Discord, is the sticks on the Switch are probably a big part of my issue.
It's bad, with a PlayStation 2 PlayStation 3 controller. I can confirm.
Yeah, if that's the case, then it's just too bad, because it's a thing you do. I didn't realize how much you do it, and you do it a lot.
You do it a lot. Yeah. It's one of those things where, I've always wanted a game like this games like this where you're using a car to get around, but like it's not a racing. It's the focus is not on cars. To just have a very simplified, and actually like Red Dead maybe had this, or maybe not Red Dead. Maybe it was
Oh, you're talking about splining, like a
splining. Yeah,
yeah.
basically
Red
like
Dead
I
does
want to
it.
go there. Yeah, okay, Red Dead does do it. I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking also of Assassin's Creed. I feel like there's times where you can be like, oh, I just want to go to this place, run me there, and
It's a
like
great solution. No, it's a
yeah.
great solution.
And with the car, I could even see like you could have some minimal interaction where it's like you want to speed up and you can like shift lanes with the the shoulder buttons or something. Like I want to go over the left lane so I can pass. I want to get back over to the right lane. Just like much simpler, good driving models. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that, because it's not. You can't deliver on it if it's not your focus. And
yeah.
even
Do
if it is
something
your focus,
simpler.
plenty of games
Yeah,
that can't even nail it when it's their focus, right? I mean, it's a hard thing to do, and especially at the time with physics engines where they were. It's just well, I don't know. I really just want and actually LA Noire did that as well, where I feel like you could have your partner drive. So
yeah.
you
That's a good
basically that's
solution too.
another good solution where it's like you could sit there and you could have the conversations like he's having with Zach, and not, you know, and not deal with the
That's why the
the
Red Dead
terrible
solution was so good, because they
yeah
did have a lot of talking
conversation. Yeah,
that was pretty critical,
yeah.
and sometimes a critical path, that so you could do both and not
Yeah, if
feel
you were
like
just
you're.
near enough to the character, I think like you would
Yeah,
follow
you just
somebody
press a
else.
button, yeah,
Yeah, and you would
and
ride
it'll
along with
stay
them.
on the
Yeah, it was
spline.
really
Yeah,
good. Yeah, it was really good.
yeah, yeah, and it was very cinematic, which is one of the reason they did it. But
Yeah, right. Yeah, it looks great.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that game.
the
Oof,
the thing is like
blisters.
I because once I found out the store for the cars, they each have their own categories of stats and stuff. I mean, they don't have numbers, but they show you like this
This one's
one's good at
faster.
turning, this
Yeah,
one's faster, this one, So they have tunability going on, and I don't want to say it's easy or anything, but I just feel like this. We said it in pre-show. This is an unpolished gem of a game, and I just don't. I think they didn't spend enough time. They weren't able to spend enough time on it, and I don't think they did enough playtesting. Because
yeah,
if they had put this in the hands of anyone
yeah,
else
yeah,
but themselves, they would have instantly seen the problem. And it looks like they have the knobs to tune.
yeah.
They just didn't
Well,
do
yeah.
it.
I mean, I think their model may just not be capable enough that even if you dial up the whatever the handling all the way, what you find is like, oh, I can handle myself right off the road really quick, or whatever. Um,
Maybe it's just so sensitive. Like
yeah,
it's like yeah. Anyway, yeah. So for me, it's a bummer. There were times when I definitely wanted, like, we talk about wall missions all the time, and it wasn't a particular mission, but the driving was a wall mission for
yeah,
me at
yeah,
times
yeah.
when I'm like, oh, I don't want to
I
keep
definitely
playing.
had that. I had that experience when I first played it.
Yeah,
I can remember just getting up to the murder scene, and that road is super windy, and just being like,
yeah.
"What are we doing here?" And not getting there in time and having to do it all again was awful. I can remember that at the time. Um, and then speaking of time, I do love what this game does with time. And it feels to me like sometimes when you're inside buildings, well, most of the time when you're inside buildings, time does not advance. Um, but I feel like, well, but then sometimes it advances a whole bunch. So it's really weird. Like, if you go to the sheriff's office and you have lunch, which is great to do because you get great, funny conversations between the police officers in York. Where they'll ask him, like, "Oh,
Yeah, that
you
was a
must
good
have to
scene.
travel a lot or whatever," or "Have you seen any good movies lately?" or whatever, and he'll say something like totally not appropriate for lunch. He was talking about some movie where heads were exploding, and I think it was probably Mars Attacks, honestly. But he was, he's just describing stuff, that he's seen, and it's all gory, and they're all like, "I'm trying to eat here." Or whatever, and so that's good to do. But if you do it too early in the chapter, like you say, it's like 10 a.m. You're like, well, I might as well just get that out of the way. It will advance time to 1 o'clock because now you've had lunch. And so just you'd lose a bunch of time. But then in other buildings you'll go in, time stops and will never advance. And you'll come out and be the same time. That's most of the bars and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the third case, which is you're in a story mission inside and you'll come out and it's like, oh, I went in and it was 5 o'clock and now it's like 10:30. And you don't feel like you've been in there 5 hours. As a player, I mean, you probably haven't as a player, but also you don't feel like it's been that kind of time. It's like, no, the time that you come out of here is 10:30 period, and so it's just a weird, it's another way that the game feels very unsettling. It's not telegraphed, often. You do kind of learn the rules, I think, over time. You kind of get a feel for, okay, this sort of activity will advance time. This sort of activity will not advance time. And time's really important especially if you're trying to do a lot of the open world missions, the story, the side stories. So if you're doing that, you need your time. Like, you need as much time as you can get. So it's one of those things. It's like, you really want to learn it. And I'm often like going and like trying to plan where I'm going to go, in part because of I'd rather talk to a person who's indoors. So I will wait until I see that they've gone indoors at a place and go see them. And sometimes that doesn't work out for me because I can't get in for some reason, like with the children. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's a good point in that because they seem to have wanted the goal. They've had the goal of wanting to simulate everything. In simulated games, time is a really important time of day.
Yeah.
Especially in open world games, time of day is a really critical thing that does tend to be consistent. So it's like, it definitely is a tension that they're pulling away from that, that issue, which, to be honest, Red Dead runs into as well, in that it isn't simulated open world with a lot of story missions, right? Which can happen sometimes weirdly at night when they weren't really probably supposed to be at night.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then sometimes they'll advance the story to be night.
And they will, yeah.
Sense, and so it is really weird. It's a weird tension with open world games that is a hard one to solve, right? I mean, I think most games that deal with day and night cycles but have story, overlaid on top of it, will run into that problem at some point. Like, this only works at, and there's lots of different ways to deal with it, but none of them are great, in terms of your sort of experience of time. So anyway, but it is a weird game. And so having a weird time system, I guess, is just, kind of what you're in for. It's one of those problems that is hard to solve, and because they have so many problems, none of which they're solving particularly well. They well,
I mean,
that's some of the jank.
GTA 3, you can see the influence there too, right? Like, the funny thing about this game that maybe is a segue to takeaways is that, as opposed to maybe any other game we've played, I feel like, or most of the other games we played, I'm not sure this game had an influence on other games.
No.
I think it is a game that you can see the influences upon it.
Yeah.
And we include Twin Peaks, of course, in that, but you can see GTA, you can see Shenmue, you can see Resident Evil, right? It is an amalgamation of a lot of different things put in a really weird package. But I think because of it, it makes it a pretty interesting game as well.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. All right. Well, you mentioned takeaways. We should get to them because I'm trying to leave you some room here before you stream tonight. So let's go straight to takeaways, a part of the show where we, at the end of a series, discuss some things we take away from the game we've played as developers. And why don't you go ahead with your first one?
Okay. Yeah, and if we go over, that's okay.
I expect I will have this one as well if you're starting where I think you are.
Yeah, well, and since this is always a little bit of a mini game to see if I do, you always predict it. You have a premonition, if you will.
Oh.
Yeah. So this one I wrote down as a different kind of mature, or a different kind of adult, a different kind
Okay.
of mature
Yeah, I
slash
did not.
adult.
This was not on my bingo card for you.
And the reason, so kind of, it relates to my second one somewhat too, but the thing that both is cringy, but also I appreciate is that it isn't a game like we talked about Resident Evil quite a bit, right? And especially the later ones, really revel in the gore and kind of that side of the horror. And because of the subject matter here and because of its influences, they're doing pretty like it's ham-fisted and not delicately done, and things that the show does better, much better. But at least they're dealing with topics and storylines that are mature, M-rated stuff, and definitely problematic in many cases and cringy. But also, I just applaud that there aren't a lot of games that do this stuff,
Right.
and that they chose to go after these sorts of themes and topics and storylines, regardless of execution and how they ended up, whether they were successfully done or not. At least they did it, and of course, again, the show is the reason they did it, but it's pretty bold move to say, I watched Twin Peaks, I love that show, I'm gonna make a game like that, when Twin Peaks is already a different kind of bold move. It's like you've
Yeah.
based your whole thing on something that's super bold, especially on TV at the time. So I just wanted to hand it to him on that, and kind of wish there was a better handled version of this game out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, and I'll reorder mine a little bit just to kind of echo. I mean, mine that kind of talks about that. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's touching on that a little bit, which is leaning into the quirk. And for me,
hmm
the quirk here is not necessarily the quirkiness of this place and characters; it's the quirkiness of video games in 2010.
yeah
With the facial animation being where it was, and like the limitations of development, and this was not a game that I'm sure had an immense budget, right? So people, I'm sure, were pretty stretched pretty thin to get everything in it that is in it. I think that's why all this sort of jankiness comes in, is just like it was not a game that had the budget to support its vision. And so a lot of things feel very first drafty, unfinished, or just not
hmm
compelling, and which includes the combat, which we didn't discuss, but we sort of mentioned it earlier in the series. But the fact that they lean into some of the limitations and just make that part of the strangeness of the experience, I think is a really good solution to those problems. And I see this, I mentioned this in particular, something I would take away is because I see this happen in indie games a lot, right? It's like they have huge constraints, and that becomes a big part of how they approach their problem solving, right? And we've done a lot of indie games this year, and so that's much on my mind.
yeah
And so leaning into the quirks of like, what, we can't really do a realistic looking smile, so yes, we're gonna show that weird as anything smile, and we're gonna hold on it. We're gonna make you feel how weird that is, um, because at a certain point, you kind of come out the other side, where you're like, it's
yeah
like when you see one of those comics who just like repeat something again and again, and it's like it's funny at first, and then it's like, this is monotonous, and there's a point at which you're like, please kill me, and then eventually you pass through to the other side and it's funny again, like uproariously funny, because it's so absurd. And I don't know, I appreciate that, especially when it comes to limitations and things like that. So
yeah
that's my first one.
that's a good one.
All right.
My second one is one I've talked about before, and it does go with the first somewhat, but it doesn't have to. And it's pretty simple and easy one. It's just the concept of solving a crime, which we talked about before, and I think it's come up on Discord a little bit too. Uh, Kind of what I meant by that too. It
Yeah.
isn't necessarily about being a police officer. It's just more about this concept of mystery, right? To be honest, adventure games do it probably better than most other video game genres. Even like you've mentioned, text adventures. So I don't know, just I, it hadn't occurred to me until we started playing this game how much I like that in an interactive medium and how much I don't get it. Uh, and yes, it is inherent to the influence of Twin Peaks, of course, because that's all about solving a crime too. But I watch a lot of that content, when it comes to linear media and that kind of stuff in TV and movies. And so I love it. And it's just funny to me that there isn't more of it. And I know there are some stuff as people are kind of starting to mention some on the Discord, but for me, it's a takeaway of like, why isn't there more? Because they did an okay job in general, and I've even been surprised at some things that have occurred that I didn't see coming and could have maybe. So
cool. Yeah, I don't know. Those Yakuza Lost Judgment and Judgment games might be up your alley.
that could be one.
The combat's way better, and there's no driving. So,
wow, you got me there. Then
sold.
Check.
I'm going to go with my second one. And it's not a reflection on yours, but the sort of deep interconnectedness of this town, which we talked a lot about this time. So I'm not going to belabor it, but it is a special thing, and I missed it almost entirely the first time I played it. Like there's a lot of the user experience that holds it back, that makes it not even obvious or apparent to me. I'll say some players, but me specifically, like that I just didn't even get that this was going on. And although I did a couple, of the side missions, the map was so bad that I don't think I even found that list, except when it shows you after you take one. So I didn't know how to go find them. Right. And so like, there's a lot holding it back. But the fact that all these little stories are there and they often tie back in to the main story in some way, not always. Sometimes people will actually literally apologize and say, yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with your case, but here's a reward anyway, is this kind of fun. And it does make you feel like you're slowly becoming a part of the town yourself. And so I think that all really, really makes this game punch above its weight, despite all of its sort of technical flaws. But and we talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to go into it further. But
the Nick and Olivia one, once he's in prison, I don't know if you did that one.
I haven't gotten there yet, but
so I won't
it's coming. It's coming. So I can't be spoiled on this game, but
that was a good one, to your point of it integrates you into their relationship and you become kind of a messenger for him while he's in jail. But then there's also kind of a cool mechanical reward for the game that I appreciated, which I did not see coming. It was like, oh wow, this is great. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. You're kind of a jerk, but now maybe you have a heart.
I forget the name of the equivalent character in the diner.
Hank.
Hank, yeah, exactly.
He's a jerk.
He's very Hank.
But
he's the reverse story of Hank. He goes to jail rather than coming out of it like Hank.
Yeah, right.
So it's totally different from Twin Peaks, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they just found a way just to twist it enough where it's like, oh, I see what you did there, which is a segue to my final one perfectly, is the direct influences with a twist. Or a direct influence with a twist. And I put it down as a takeaway because I guess to some degree,
I'm gonna say mine too, because it's the same. It's, if you're going to be inspired by something great.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I'll just go ahead and put it out there and let you discuss, and I'll chime in so we can.
Yeah, no, I think that's maybe a better way to put it. But I give it a lot of grace because it's based on Twin Peaks, like I don't know how else to put it, but it's like I forgive a lot because and it's definitely weird and additionally weird because I'm watching the show at the same time. So I highly recommend that for people who really want to deep dive, but it's like it gives it more credibility or something, right? Because it is based on an influence. And for a takeaway for me, it comes down to maybe we should be doing more of this, And I don't mean like a game based on an IP because you have the IP and you're going to make a SpongeBob game because it's a SpongeBob game. I mean like Swear did here, where clear influence, not a direct IP game, not trying to copy the show or the movie or anything like that, but it's in the space enough to where you can appreciate it. And, I'm sure that I just can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there's plenty of examples.
Gilmore Girls game that's not even Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. Well, and there probably are those games out there.
There may be, and they're probably in spaces that I don't
play. Yeah. But so yeah, I don't know. It's just makes me think about embracing that maybe a little bit more, in the future, and where do your influences come from? And there's the obvious ones like D&D, Tolkien, and
there's a
Star Wars or whatever, right?
And Alien.
There's an Alien.
There's a bunch of things that are like, okay, we know, and Blade Runner. We know every designer, writer, whatever in games has seen these 5 things. Can we see other things?
Well, the one that comes to mind that's definitely a little on the nose for this game, but and there were some games in its height. There were some games that I think were trying to be influenced by it. I'm trying to think of a good example, but X-Files, I feel like, is in the space where it's so rich. It could be doing so many things. You have a tabletop campaign about that, so you see probably the same value.
I'm prepared to license that to you.
Fair enough. You licensed it to yourself in a way.
All right. Well, those are our takeaways. I threw mine in there at the end. I have nothing further to add to that. I think all of that was well put by you, sir. So we will move on and get to the outro quickly here. We love to get your reviews. And we also get email at devgameclub@gmail.com. You have one quick one, more of an announcement to read this week.
Yeah, a bookend announcement for another charity event. We got an email from Artemis, who's one of our community members. Subject is Extra Life. Hey folks, it's my 13th year of doing Extra Life. Wow, that's impressive. I'll be playing Cult of the Lamb on November 15th for 12 hours starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. All donations benefit McMaster Children's Hospital here in Hamilton, Ontario. And those who donate $50 can, US dollars, yes, $50 US, can get a hand crocheted 1-up mushroom hat, thanks to Angie Nash. Wow. And then there's an Instagram, and then also Art's Twitch channel is Artemis84, by the way. So so please support more charity work. This community is amazing when it comes to charity work, art, noises, and the upcoming defeating games. So yeah, thanks, Art.
We are on the web at devgameclub.com, and my co-host here, Twitch, is at twitch.tv/
Tim Longo Jr. with a JR at the end,
where he is soon going to be finishing all the games. I believe you were going to, let's see, it says here, restart Final Fantasy IX from the beginning. Wow, that's ambitious. Good luck. Hope that all goes
I don't know what I'm going to do about that game.
And as you've heard many times, we have a fan-run Discord. There's a link in the show notes. Our intro and outro music was written and performed by Kirk Hamilton, commissioned by friend of the cast, Aaron Evers, and our logo, the Discord, our merch store, all by Mark Garcia. Have fun digging up bones around town this week, and good night.
Good night.